This is National Native News. I'm Antonia Gonzalez. Murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls are the focus of a bill introduced Friday in Washington's House. As correspondent Emily Schwing reports, the legislation aims to build on a law passed in 2018.
Last year, Washington State Representative Gina Mossbrooker, a Republican from Goldendale, passed a bill that calls on the governor's office and the Washington State Patrol to find a way to count every murdered and or missing Indigenous woman in the state. A final report is due out this June, but Mossbrooker says she doesn't want to wait.
What we were concerned about was that, one, we would lose awareness on this issue. Two, that there's more and more women missing all the time and currently missing.
So she's introducing a new bill that would add 2 liaisons to the Washington State Patrol to improve government-tribal relations. Mossbrooker also wants to set up a task force and find a way to streamline how missing persons cases are handled in the state. Mossbrooker has also added an emergency clause. If her bill is signed into law, a 90-day waiting period before it takes effect would be eliminated. I'm Emily Schwing reporting.
A state Senate bill recognizes the official Indigenous languages in South Dakota, Lakota, Dakota, and Nakota. If passed, the declaration would appear alongside English, recognized as the common language for the state. Lee Strubinger reports.
State Senator Troy Heinert is the prime sponsor of the bill, which seeks to codify those 3 languages as part of the state's Indian heritage. Democrat Minority Leader Heinert is Sichangu Lakota and represents a district that covers the Rosebud Reservation. Heinert says the languages are about relationships.
Everyone and everything is a relative. And in our language, it reflects that. It puts things in that context that, sometimes we don't often hear in today's society. So, it's important that we start looking at and remembering, that we're all in this together.
Heinert says tribal communities in South Dakota are losing roughly 700 fluent Lakota, Dakota, and Nakota speakers a year, while gaining about 200. He says he hopes the bill re-emphasizes the importance of hearing and speaking native languages.
And I think it validates the importance of getting our language out there and being used and accepted. And, you got to remember, in our history, you used to get in trouble for speaking, your native language. And I think this shows the opposite of that it's supported and needed, and hopefully it'll pass.
If passed, English will remain the common language of the state, which is designated as the language used for any official public document or record. For National Native News, I'm Lee Strubinger in Pierre, South Dakota.
Tribal leaders across the country applauded the end to the partial government shutdown on Friday. Leaders of 2 of the largest tribes in the U.S. expressed relief of the temporary reopening, but also concerns about long-term impacts and appropriations. Chief Bill John Baker of the Cherokee Nation thanked employees who continued to work during the shutdown and says the tribe hopes the president and Congress will ensure the government remains open. The Cherokee Nation arranged free meals and offered loans. Baker says tribal citizens were concerned about health care, WIC, and food services. The Navajo Nation was also concerned about services and public safety. Vice President of the Navajo Nation, Myron Lizer, says tribes must continue to remind the federal government of its trust and treaty obligations even in times of a shutdown. Friday's deal reopens the government for 3 weeks. I'm Antonia Gonzalez.
National Native News is produced at the Annenberg National Native Voice Studios by Quantic Broadcast Corporation. Funding is provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, with support from the Public Radio Satellite Service.
Support by the Herd Museum, hosting the 29th Annual Hoop Dance World Championship, where you can see more than 80 talented native hoop dancers vie for the championship title February 9th and 10th. Details at herd.org. Support by Travoy, seeking Indigenous artwork to show in Kansas City, Missouri. Up to 6 artists will be chosen. Application deadline is January 31st at travavoice.com/first-Fridays.
Native Voice One, the Native American Radio Network.